On this channel, I often appear to make up a garment from scratch, but in fact, the way I started and the way many started sewing their own clothes is with these, and in the age of internet, also these. You'll notice there's a lot of details to pay attention to. Picking the right size, going over the full supplies list. But one thing I actively ignore, and I don't think I'm alone, is the difficulty rating. What does it mean?
That sign can't stop me because I can't read.
Does higher difficulty mean a beginner could do it as long as they have enough patience, determination, and delulu? Or, and sorry if this bursts anyone bubble, is difficulty more like gymnastics where if you are a beginner, you best not be attempting the biles? I actually don't know where I stand on this spectrum. Like, I've never done a test or like a calibration exercise, which brings us to what we're doing today. I have picked a beginner, intermediate, and advanced rated sewing pattern. We're just gonna start at beginner, see where I tap out. We are going to find out how much we should be caring about the difficulty rating, or if we can just ignore it. I've chosen a sewing pattern company that shows up on my feed all the time, Vikisews. Vikisews has changed over the years. It seems like years ago the patterns were mostly in Russian. A post on r/sewing 5 years ago, using a foreign pattern was tough, but worth it. Another one 5 years ago, I'm in love with Vikisews patterns. I seriously stalk their website and I'm constantly adding patterns to my cart only to take them out again. My main concern is just that it's entirely in Russian. Another one, the prettiest dress I've ever sewn. Oh, it does look really nice. Seems to be a popular destination for dresses. Fresh off the sewing machine. Oh, this is the Nola dress, which is the same one that this first poster did. They elaborated, this was my second shot trying Russian patterns and I wasn't disappointed. Translating and understanding the instructions took me a long time, but it was well worth it, I think. That's amazing. Okay, I tried to find some more current reviews. Pretty sure now all the patterns, or most of the patterns, are in English. Made a sleeveless version of the Vikisews Arlette, Vikisews Lulu dress, Clarissa dress. Wow! Finished a warm bucket hat for my daughter. Okay, when I say beginner, this is what I'm hoping for, guys. Vikisews Miriam wrap dress. Wrap dress also sounds very beginner friendly. All right, okay. So here's something I want to add to my wardrobe that is also rated beginner. It's got a little fashion flavor in the neckline. And there are a lot of little details I appreciate, like there's thumb holes, snap closure at the bottom because beginners deserve to pee too. This is going to be a lot of information to gather in one place, and in instances like this, I like to use Milanote. They agreed to sponsor this video, so let me give you a quick tour if you're unfamiliar. Milanote is a tool for organizing your creative projects, and it does that with an online canvas. You can plan, brainstorm, collaborate on your ideas. So here's how I've organized this project. I have a to-do list here to keep me focused on the next step. When I think of a side quest, I can add them in this column, and this way any ideas I get, I can just organize them right away. Each of these is a subboard. You just drag over a new board, name it, start filling it in. Very easy. This is where I gathered those reviews that I was sharing with you, and all the links are sorted into topical columns. And here are the patterns that I've chosen. I'm trying to make a complete outfit, and I'm going with this cover art as inspiration for the general silhouette. So that's why there's this jacket and pants. All of these images I just dragged over straight from the internet. There's no need to take up space saving it to your computer, and it even retains the source link so you can remember where it came from. I have some color samples to guide my shopping, got links to my research, and down here, this is a newer feature, but it's a whole table with my shopping supplies so I can refer to this instead of multiple tabs when I'm at the fabric store. This all came together really quick. Milanote makes everything very easy to start. I can keep expanding these boards as I go. I can use one of over 100 built-in templates for every kind of creative project. Like I used this fashion design brief template to put down my ideas in case I wanted to make my own rodeo queen sash. So Milanote, as you can see, perfect for creative professionals. If you're a filmmaker, interior designer, writer, content creator. One last thing is right now I've been doing my projects solo, but you can invite your team to gather feedback and collaborate in real time. And Milanote is available for free with no time limit. You can sign up using the link in the description and start your creative project. Milanote also has an app, so I took all this info with me to the fabric store.
Thank you, you too.
I'm trying to find this style of zipper that locks, so it's impossible for your fly to come undone. Whereas these ones, see, they don't lock. But I want this in silver and in a white or off-white zipper. Not sure if I'm asking for too much. Here we go. Main fabric, clear elastic, snap tape, some more elastic, stretch needle, stretch twin needle. Crap. Oh, no. My fear came true. I forgot something. Maybe let's see how far we can get without it today. The thing I'm looking at over here is my instructions on a widescreen so it doesn't take up space on my table. Last night while we watched TV and the kids were asleep, I taped together and cut out all the pattern pieces. I feel like this is not a step that's included in the estimated sewing time, but it should be because this took all night and my back hurt. The instructions do lay out how I should arrange them on the fabric to maximize efficiency, so let's do that. Whoop. Okay, now I'm wondering if this is included in the sewing time. Okay, it has to be. I feel like we are sewing now. In addition to cutting out the whole shape, you also got to pay attention to little notches that are marked. When I was starting out, I used to ignore these, but they help you a lot with getting everything to line up exactly as the pattern maker designed. Ooh, this is so soft. I'm so excited. Based clear elastic along the shoulder seam allowance on the wrong side of the front piece. Okay, and now we enter the reading comprehension phase of the sewing pattern. Can you follow instructions? Here is the clear elastic with my hand basting. Stay stitching all the places where my body comes out of this bodysuit. I feel like when I'm following a sewing pattern, I'm reminded of a lot of sewing best practices that you should follow, but sometimes you're in a rush. Not speaking about anyone in particular. Vikisews, why don't you number your steps? I need a sense of progress. 4 thread. Okay. It's happening. Getting my sewing sweat on, and I can't open the window because the construction is so loud. Matching the notches. Here this pattern has included another feature that I don't really think about when I'm drafting. The side seam on the back is actually a bit shorter than the side seam at the front, so you got to stretch it a little to match it up. And I think the benefit is so that when you're standing up straight, you won't have excess bunching at the back. If that is the case, I appreciate this attention to detail. I feel like I should incorporate that in my stuff. I've gotten really used to my way of hemming knit openings, and this one is calling for me to draw a guiding line, fold and pin the fabric, and then baste and press the fold in place. I think the way I've been hemming knit openings is faster, but I have a feeling this one is going to look nicer. Okay, I'm not too crazy with how the sharp turns are looking. There was nothing in the instructions on how to address things getting really tight around these sharp turns. I guess sometimes you can snip it a little to give it some breathing room. I'm not sure if I'm gonna address it or just hope it works out. I am at the part now where I need the twin needle.
It's so tiny. I was imagining like carrying a bigger thing, but
thank you.
No problem. Easy to run with.
Enjoy the rest of your run.
Thanks.
Yay! Ooh, ooh. A lot of first, guys. I've never done this. I think I gotta set the needle to twin. There is a guide. Double needle. One on the right, one on the left of this little plate. That's the neck hole. Might look a little better with a press. Okay, better after a press. However, I'm now concerned it literally cannot fit over my head. Do I need to remove the stay stitch? We were here. Oh, but now we're here. A little more hopeful, but I still want to try it on. Go! Wow! Okay. She's a pretty snug fit. Too snug? I can handle this, but I can't handle things being too tight on the arms. Place the long edge of the gusset piece made of the main fabric right sides together with the corresponding bottom edge of the back piece. Align the edges and pin in place. Then place the right side of the gusset piece made of the lining fabric to the wrong side of the back piece. Align the long edge of the gusset with the corresponding bottom edge of back piece. Pin to the back piece together with the gusset made of the main fabric. Whew. I mean, there's pictures, but I feel like I think I know what they want. That's the last thing I can get done today. Got the gusset. It has a lining. Okay. It's day 2. Finishing up the gusset, they want me to do some hand basting to bring these 2 layers together. Fold and hand baste the gusset edge. Remove the basting stitches. Press the seam flat. Okay, look how smooth this cover stitch is. And then look at this cover stitch from yesterday. See how there's this bump? It's not flat, like I hit some invisible cord inside. This non-ideal effect is called tunneling, and it was really bothering me last night. I looked it up again and I realized I need to decrease thread tension when I thought I needed to increase thread tension. I should have done more test stitches. I think I just thought it was as good as it was gonna get until I saw my results today. So now, the idealist in me would like to redo the cover stitching on the neckline. It's a bit of work, but I feel like I'm gonna be so much happier after. Before and after. I love it. Thank you, past Wendy. Okay, back to my instructions. I am once again pleading with Vikisews to add numbers. I think I get to finish the leg holes. This is good timing because now I know how to cover stitch. I am hardened by battle. I'm ready for this challenge. Come on, look at that. Tunneling where? Not a tunnel to be seen. In the instructions, they managed to fit 3 snaps on here, but the best I can do with the snap tape I found, I think will be 2 snaps. I have to change the foot and I have to change the needle, which maybe is a little bit of a gripe. Of course, if you had multiple machines, then you could designate like 1 machine per setup. But this is a beginner sewing pattern, so I don't feel like it's fair to assume people have multiple setups. My personal preference is that all the things needing the same setup would be grouped as much as possible. It's on and it fits. I've never made such a tight fitted cutout and I'm so happy with how it looks on a first stab. I keep going like this because this fabric is actually so soft. I think it was a cotton with a bit of spandex. Something about a bodysuit really makes you feel like dance. The instructions say time for arms. The sleeves do have a thumb hole. I've never added this from the get-go. I've only ever inserted one retroactively. So first, gotta serge these edges. Fold the sleeves right sides together, overlock. All right, so all that got me 2 finished openings. Closed off the bottom edge, so now there is a thumb hole. They want me to top stitch around the thumb hole. Oh my gosh, it's hot again. I need Apple Watch to add sewing as one of the physical activity options. 1 top stitch, 2 top stitch. Oh my gosh, we're so close. They recommend basting just to check for fit, and you know what? I will. Side, front. It's actually so snug. It's really hugging. Whoa. Overlock, finish these guys, and let me show you how it looks. Okay. This is not good. What have we learned? My idea of beginner is not Vikisews beginner. This is beginner. This is beginner. The difficulty rating is an amalgamation of a few things. It's trying to give you an idea of like number of pieces involved, number of sewing techniques, types of seam finishes, whether the fabric involved is like a generally predictable or finicky fabric. Many pieces, many techniques, more difficult seams, more finicky fabric, advanced. Less pieces, less techniques, easier seam finishes, easier, very predictable fabric, beginner. As you saw with this, we were stay stitching, basting, top stitching, cover stitching, whipped out the overlock, pressing, pinning, attaching sleeves, doing this fancy cutout, which I actually love, by the way. It turned out great. Thumb holes, can't forget the thumb holes. I also do love this flared end. It gives such a cozy feel to the end of the sleeve. Oh right, and also the snaps at the bottom. And this is all on a knit. As far as knits go, this was on the easier end of knits, but it's still nowhere near as easy as a plain old canvas that basically behaves like origami paper in fabric form. I do agree, it was roughly 2 days of work. It's always hard for me to gauge because I'm filming at the same time and I don't really have 8 hours uninterrupted. So I think I'm in the zone. But this is a With Wendy intermediate, but as you know, Vikisews calls it a beginner, and last night I assembled the pattern that Vikisews deems intermediate. You're nuts. Sitting here taping intermediate.
This is the hard one.
There's advanced after this. I haven't even seen what it looks like. Oh man.
It's May 19th. This is gonna take you the next 2 weeks. I'm not joking.
I know. Working on it.
It's taking you an hour to cut this out and tape it together.
Yeah. This pattern is like, oh, assembly in 2 days.
Yeah,
And
if you spend 8 hours a day.
That's what they said, 8 hours, 16 hours / 2 days. But even then, I looked at that number and I was like, I think these people drink the same Delulu juice that I drink.
Yeah, for sure.
I was like, I'm instantly concerned. Anyways, we'll see what we decide from here. Oh no, I got a tear on the paper. It's assembled. My goodness. And now I gotta cut it out. Just like 20 or so individual pieces. What I didn't show you with the beginner pattern was I actually like to just print page 1 first, and it's because this is the box where you double check that you have your printer at the right size. It should be 5 centimeters, 5 centimeters. Once I know this is okay, then I go ahead and print the rest. You also have to be conscientious of how you're taping it together. Putting tape here would be useless because this is all gonna get cut away. I'm trying to see if the glare will show you. There you go. So I prioritize putting tape where the actual pattern is so that when I cut it apart, this tape remains useful. Based on my fabric width and my size, this is the layout that I'm going for. There's all the leftover fabric in case I need to do anything over. These pieces have to be along the fold because they have a point of symmetry. I think all of them run along the center back. And the reason the arrangement is so particular is because every single piece does need to adhere to the grain line. So you'll see all these arrows, they all are parallel. Oh, this one was a funny one that had to be done face down. Gotta get the grain lines correct so that when the garment is worn, all the fabric faces the exact same direction. And now I gotta cut it out. I went ahead and highlighted all the ones that require interfacing so that they'd just be easier to spot in the piles and piles and piles. Okay, this is the last piece to cut out. Here's my little lineup of soldiers waiting for the fusible interfacing. I really wanted to get some sewing done today, but this prep has been intense. And I'm using this cloth to protect my iron from the stickiness. The heat is melting the glue on the interfacing to get it to stick. Stuck? Okay. And I'm going to clip them together so they don't get lost. Though I haven't gotten to any sewing, I'm not bitter about it because I can tell that I have been totally locked in today and really have not wasted any time. I forget what that social trick phenomenon is where like you work. I mean, I did this all throughout university, but it's like you work in the same space as other people. You're not interacting with them, but their presence, I forget the name of it. Their presence helps you stay productive, and I honestly think I'm very locked in here. I'm like watching YouTube essays and I can hear the construction outside and they're like my productivity buddies at the moment. See you at the other side when all my interfacing is done. It's nearing the end of my work time. Gotta go get the kids from daycare in a moment. I organized my pattern pieces on the ground so I could easily find them all, and I'm trying to make it so that I can sew as fast as possible without even moving from my seat. We have the regular sewing here, top stitching here, overlock there. All 3 of these babies are plugged in, and we have the iron. Now that that's all set up, I think I have half an hour before I actually need to go. So let me take a crack at step 1. Of course, this is referring to what I would call step 1 if I wrote these instructions and valued numbering the steps. Vicky. I'm so curious what Vikisews counts as being on the clock. Like today I think I've already put in 8 hours for sure. It's not looking good. Align the, princess seam edges. My alarm to go get the kids just went off. Done for the day. This, I believe, will become front right, front left, today we will be hitting the sewing speed limit. Well, daycare just called and I have to get Oscar because he might be sick. Hey, baby's asleep. I'm just gonna see what I can get done during the nap. My top stitching is looking beautiful and I get to work on a chest pocket. That's new. That's new for me. Look at these pocket flaps I made. Ooh, don't look at the back of them. The bobbin thread has been giving me some grief today. Actually, it's fine. I don't know what I was stressed about. And these are the jacket fronts. This is my left side, little chest pocket. So I think the idea is, wow, I've never made this before and it was so smooth. I was already supposed to put the stud right here. Yeah, I just want to see how it all lands before I go puncturing that hole. The next step is transferring this buttonhole onto these beautiful flaps that I've made. I've cut a hole in the pattern so that I can just do a pencil line. Theirs looks way higher. Ooh. I got a lot done tonight. This is the front left and the front right, and I also finished the back. I did break a lot of needles tonight. This part right here is so many layers of fabric. I was manually turning the needle to go through and needles were still breaking. It was just too many layers. Oh boy, this is quite oversized. I'm just squeezing in whatever sewing I can get done today. You want a cheers? Cheers! Yeah! We're moving on to the collar. This is the under collar, over collar, and then these little guys are the collar stand. Have you guys ever thought about how many pieces of fabric go into a collar? I'm actually also quite nervous because I have not made enough collar stands in life to be like, yeah, I'm a collar stand whiz. Lots of trimming in the seams to reduce bulk, which is a unique feature of sewing with a thicker material. Here you can see I cut away some of the excess seam allowance. I'm so proud of myself for this. It's looking so clean. One thing I do love is the emphasis the Vikisews instructions has on pressing before and after every single seam. It's making things so crisp, and I do think that's one of those understated sewing tips on how to get everything looking clean. Like here, for example, after sewing the over and under collar together, press the seam allowance open, then we actually press the seam allowance towards the under collar. Maybe you would skip this middle one if you were working fast, but every little bit adds to the crispness. Moment of truth, get to flip the whole collar right side out. This is way too bulky. I'm getting sweaty again. Okay, actually, it's not so bad. This is where we're at right now. This is my setup. Instructions as large as possible. Here's all my lighting. And I've just been spinning in this chair. Sewing machine, workspace, top stitching machine, iron, overlocker, 1 foot pedal, 2 foot pedals, 3 foot pedals, smaller tools. If you want to sew fast, this is the kind of life you need to be leading.
Can I come in the chair, please?
Yeah, sure. It's gonna be a little bit of a squeeze, honey.
I'll tell you. What are you making?
A jean jacket.
Why?
Really just to challenge myself. I want a jean jacket. Hey.
No, stop. Mama, I can't see because you're blocking the way.
I'm so sorry. There you go.
Can I please
Press the seam.
go in your chair?
Yeah, you can sit here now. I gotta go press on the iron.
Louie and Bingo have that, Mom.
It's called an iron. It makes hot steam to help press clothes really smooth. That brings me finally to the sleeve. There's a large piece, a smaller half, and then that lace-up slit has a facing on each side. So that's 8 pieces to assemble, which gets you this. Oh my gosh. Dan and I hammered in the grommets while the kids were asleep, and our house is not big enough for that to be a good choice. Nothing like a little late night grommeting. I've traced the puncture spots. Some of them I adjusted so they would just look a little bit more symmetrical. Grommets. Grommet setter with anvil. that I've never opened.
This single shot.
Okay, here's a successful attempt.
This is gonna become my shirt.
Here's those facing pieces. Then I sewed the sleeves onto the jacket and sealed the jackets down the side. I have 2 cuffs and a waistband pressed and ready. It's time to cuff it, cuff it, cuff it, cuff it, baby. Now the waistband, as you can see, it's a pretty long, continuous piece of material, and there's all these little notches I cut in the waistband that are supposed to line up with all of these different princess seams and side seams that I did, and every single notch is lining up on such a long piece of material. It's like the final assessment on whether I cut these pieces accurately, did all my seam allowances correctly, pressed everything in the right direction. This pattern being intermediate though presents like an interesting dynamic where the pattern is assuming I have a certain level of sewing skill, and it's almost like it gives the instructions permission to not cover every single detail, because it's like, well, you already know that you're an intermediate sewist, are you not? Like in this step, it didn't tell me explicitly to have the waistband stick out by 1 centimeter, nor did it make it clear in the photos. And I had to scroll down quite a few steps to finally see a photo where I was like, oh yes, it sticks out by a centimeter as I thought it should. That's an interesting area where it's like the more advanced a sewing pattern gets, can they be looser with describing the techniques because they're assuming you already know how this works. But even advanced sewists can make mistakes, especially if you're sewing at top speed like I'm trying to. So with that 1 centimeter excess, folding the cuff and waistbands right sides together to close away the raw edge. There's a bit of trimming to reduce the bulk of the raw edges. Gotta repeat for the other side. And now we flip. 1 corner, 2 corners. The instructions have me doing a little hand basting to close the cuff. I'm picking up the folded edge of the cuff, and then I try to be consistent on where I go in and out for the sleeve. Here's how that looks on the inside and on the outside. Ooh, got a little off track here. Here we go. Did a little bit better of a job on the second cuff. Still missing the closure. Nothing more motivating than a quick little try on. Out of my way. Yeah! I am off to see my buttons. I'm happy to see my buttons. Also finished these 2 waist tabs. Something like this. 2 on the front yoke, 4 on the body. It's good to do a test buttonhole on the machine. Seems to work. You guys, all of the buttonholes are done. These require some more hammering, so obviously I'm gonna go ahead and do that again at night while the kids are asleep. And I bought these leather strips, so I think I'm ready to show you how it's all coming together. Okay, let's see. Can you see? You gotta back up. So this was beginner, and this is intermediate. I think we can all agree that this was definitely harder than the beginner. There were significantly more pieces. There were more sewing techniques. This fabric being so rigid is generally quite cooperative, but this fabric that I chose is a bit on the thick side, and as you saw, there were some casualties. Every single one of these seams, they were sewn, overlocked, pressed, and then top stitched twice. The cuffs, oh, and the fringe. You guys saw the original pattern had a lace-up sleeve. I don't know if you guys guessed by now, but I had intended to make this entire outfit to wear to a concert. So it was a top, jacket, pants. I only got the bodysuit and jacket done in time, but that's okay. It was just for like a small up-and-coming artist. It actually rained for the entire concert, so in a way I'm kind of grateful that my pants will get to stay clean and spared of that experience. But yeah, going back to the fringe, I can change it to a lace-up later, but for now, I'm loving the movement. I am very proud of how meticulously and accurately this jacket came out. However, this has still been a very humbling calibration experience. The scale stays consistent. I guess if Vikisews intermediate is a With Wendy advanced. I'm trying to think of a comparable sewing project that I've ever done at this complexity, and I'm coming up blank. If anyone knows the archive better than I do at the moment, please let me know. We are coming up, or have probably already passed, the half-hour mark, and so we're gonna tackle advanced in a part 2. Let's go.